Hello everyone, and welcome to Blue Tengu's live game development show, broadcasting from Tsukuba, Japan, where we show everything that goes into making a game from concept to completion. If you've ever wanted to make a game, we hope this will help lower the barrier to entry, maybe give you the nudge you needed to try it yourself. Even if you don't want to make a game, we hope you'll find some value in what we're doing here. All the information about where you can find us is in the Twitch info down below, or in our YouTube profile for those of you catching us later. But just in case, we're at www.bluetengu.com, btengu on Twitter, Facebook.com Blue Tengu Studio, YouTube.com Blue Tengu Studio for those of you watching the live stream, and Twitch TV Blue Tengu for those of you watching us later on YouTube. If you missed any episodes, you can always catch them over at YouTube, but you shouldn't have any trouble following along, even if you haven't seen them. For those of you who haven't seen the show on Twitch or YouTube before, my name's Eric. I'm a game designer living over here in Japan. I was trying to show you everything that goes into making a game for about 2 hours a week, including all the ums and ahs and awkward debugging moments. The reason I'm showing it all is as it happens, as opposed to making a game first and scripting out a tutorial and showing that. It's because I do want to lower the barrier you feel to making a game, and I hope inspire you to go out and try it yourself when you see someone else kind of struggling with it. But thank you to everyone who dropped by last week and a few hours ago, because I'm recording these episodes back to back. For those of you here with me on Twitch, feel free to drop suggestions or ask me questions at any time. May not be able to answer them right away because I am working, but I'll try to get to them, and if I can't, just send me a private message here, leave a comment on our site or YouTube video, or send an email to eric@bluetengu.com, and I'll do my best to address it. If any of you out there are making something and you don't mind showing it off, send me a link to your stuff. Love to see it. Anyway, at this time for 2 hours every week, I come onto Twitch TV to work on the game Project Spaghetti, which is a top-down 2D cowboy shooter with a bullets-fired bounce around the screen with a pinball mechanic. Last episode, I should say, because just 2 hours ago I did another episode. This is a special long week to make up for GDC. Got kind of a game over sequence working with the player walking to an outhouse and then enemies kind of lining up after that. So I got the start of the game over sequence, and this episode I think I'll jump into stat tracking. So may not be able to get to, in fact I don't think I'll be able to get to actually showing the stats in the game, but I should be able to actually show or keep track of the stats, or at least, bullets fired, bullets dodged, bullets that bounced off the side of the screen, explosions that occur, things like that. All those different stats. I should be able to keep track of the stats and then, list them up and be able to use them later. So without further ado, I'm going to get started and jump over to Trello. Jumping over to the task list at Trello.com. If you look up Trello and Project Spaghetti, you can see it. It's public. Now we're going to jump into episode 36, which is kind of a continuation of what we've just been doing. Results, track and display stats. This is something that I kind of mentioned last week as well. That's something that I kind of wanted to do because there's a lot of gameplay in here. There's a lot of things that can be tracked. You can track how far the player moved, how many bullets they fired, how many bounces there were, how many enemies dodged. There's all these different stats that you can track, and it'd be kind of interesting to show the player those things while the ending's rolling. So I think that's what I want to do with this task. It's obviously, let me jump over to it actually. So Trello, Project Spaghetti to get to this task list. And episode 36, results, track and display stats. So I need to break this task down. Probably track and display should be two different things. So displaying's going to take some time. And track stats is still kind of a big task in itself. So I think that's kind of how we want to go. I probably won't be able to get all of the stats this episode because some of them I might have to think about over time. And if you guys have any ideas if you've been following the show and you kind of know what Project Spaghetti is, If you can think of any cool stats, definitely let me know. I'll try to see if I can set up that tracking. But let me catch up to the chat here, since I think the Grim Gary jumped in. And let's see. Noob mentions I'm going to head out. I know you'll be ending soon anyway, but still have fun at GDC. It should be fun. Thank you, Noob. Yeah, I do appreciate you dropping by. It's nice to see you again, and you did give me a lot of great hints, and especially for using GameMaker and stuff like that. That was great. Thank you. By the way, if any of you guys are going to GDC, let me know if you're interested in actually meeting up or whatever. I'll be there. We'll probably be attending some of the same sessions. Obviously, if you see me, just tap me on the shoulder and say hi. When you say hi, definitely say you've been watching the show or whatever, because all I know about you guys is your names in the Twitch feed. So if you just tap my shoulder and freak me out without letting me know like who you guys are, then I'll probably just assume you're trying to kill me. So definitely give me a heads up about that. But if I do see any of you at GDC, that would be awesome. And the Grim Gary did drop by and said was kind of thinking that you missed the show. Well, you did miss the start of the show, but today just happens to be a special day where I'm going extra long to make 2 episodes to make up for next week. So there's still plenty to go. So Noob, I guess I have to say goodbye to you. Thank you for dropping by, and the Grim Gary, hello and welcome to episode 36. And the rest of you guys as well, welcome to episode 36. So first thing is tracking stats. First stat, I guess the easiest one would be enemies killed. I think I already have that tracked. Bullets fired would be another stat to track. In fact, let's add a checklist. Trackable stats. And, well, let's see, bullets fired. Use Trello's task list option. Just make double sure that this is actually recording. Okay, good. I'm always panicking when I hit that stop record button because I know I'm going to someday forget to hit record again. And then you guys on YouTube won't be able to see this. So bullets fired, distance traveled. Am I spelling that right? For some reason I want to do it with one L. Yeah, I think I did spell it wrong. Sorry. Distance traveled. Bullets bounced. Bounces. Bullet bounces. Bullet bounces. That's something to keep track of. And Noob says you could track how many times you shot a ghost. That's a good one. Yeah, because if you fire through a ghost, yeah, awesome. That is a great idea. Bullets fired through ghosts, because that's definitely specific to ghosts, which means you could also do something like Scorpion, like bullets bounced off of scorpions, as well as bullets bounced off of aliens. Lasers dodged. Yeah, lasers dodged. Bullets dodged. Now I've got the stream of consciousness kicking. Let's see. Aliens fired. And Cirrus mentioned, Blue, can you put me in your bag so I can come to GDC? I wish I could, man. I wish I could bring all of you guys to GDC because it's a lot of fun. I do tend to attend mostly like game design sessions because that's just my background. Scenario writing and game design are just kind of my thing. Scripting, stuff like that. Can do programming. I can't. I won't lie about that. You guys have plenty of proof that I can't do art. So, but game design is where my heart is. So that tends to be where I put most of my sessions. So if you guys are there, that's where you could probably find me. And I think the first 2 days I will be trying to attend the game design boot camp because I've heard a lot of good things about it, and it'd be a lot of fun. I've done the level design day back in the day, and that was a lot of fun. It was more the boot camps more than the sessions that I kind of liked, so we'll be attending those. And the Grim Gary said, I wish I had the time off and cash to do GDC. Yeah, GDC is expensive. Wow. Yeah, if you're not volunteering or if you don't have a ticket coming from someone like B Grim, then yeah, it gets really expensive. I think, especially if you don't register early, it's around, wow, I hate even saying this number because it's scary. It's as if I'm putting this, I'm some rich guy, but I got the tickets, so it's around $2,000, I think, for the all access pass. Let me just take a look, see actually. 2015. In case any of you guys are interested in the future. Well, that's just great. It gives me the Japanese page. I'll jump to the English one from here. I'm living in Japan, so it tries to be helpful all the time. Yes, that is definitely not English. Can we switch to English? There we go. Let's see. Attend. Passes and prices. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, if you do register early, it is a lot cheaper. So if you can't register early, make sure someone's buying your pass for you. There is a 75. Okay, Student Expo Pass. I didn't know there was that. I'm guessing the Student Expo Pass is if you wanted to, because they do have a lot of like game companies there that are recruiting. So if you're interested in joining a game company, you can get interviews and things like that. So I think that's the point of this pass. The Expo Pass just means you can't attend any sessions, but you can kind of run around and see the games that are there. I don't know. If you're going to do that, maybe E3 is the better way to go. If you're just there to see games, if you can get into E3. Independent Game Summit. Obviously, if it's just independent game focused, that's one way you can go to save a little money. Audio Track, if you're an audio professional, you can just attend audio stuff. Summit's tutorial and boot camps. If you're only interested in like those first 2 days of GDC, you can do that. The main conference pass is everything but those first 2 days, and then the all access is just everything. So if you wanted to do all access now, it'd be about $2,000. So, hope you have a rich uncle. Yeah, it's prohibitively expensive for most game designers, myself included, if I wasn't getting a ticket for it. And the Grim Gary mentions Ghost Shot Steam achievement. And yeah, setting up Steam achievements and achievements on other platforms is probably a really good idea. Linking them into those stats is actually a really good idea. So I don't forget to do that, actually. Hopefully this saves. It's actually a good idea to put that in the task list. Yes, thank you, Gary, for mentioning that, because that's something I probably would have left off the task list until the very end and then remember that this is out there. Let's put it down below some of the other game design tasks. Let's put it around there. Because until I actually have those platforms linked up, it's not going to make too much sense. Let's see, Bullets Dodge. Well, this is good enough to get us started, I think. That's plenty of stuff for now. Can add as I start thinking of things, and if you guys mention anything in the chat, yeah, definitely I'll try to add it to this list. Bullets fired should be really easy. So now I have to set up all these variables. Let's get the paths out of the way, the sprites out of the way, timelines out of the way since I'm not using those anymore. And let's see, globals. I don't need to save the stats, do I? The only reason I would need to save the stats is if I wanted to show the player the most they've ever done, which I guess is a good idea. So yeah, let's save those stats. Save a version of them for the highest number. Because I do have like high score, base score, for example. And there's just score, which is the GameMaker variable. So let's put a new section into here with my global variables and call it stats, stat tracking. And since the high score is more stat tracking, I'll put that in here. Just so that I remember it exists. Score. The internal GameMaker variable for storing the score is what I've been using. So bullets fired. Bullets fired. Just wondering if I should precede all of these with stat just to keep it easier. Yeah, let's do that. Stat bullets fired 0. And I need to make that global. Record. So that's bullets fired. What else do I have in that list? Move the GameMaker window out of the way so I can see the list as I'm doing this. Global, and you guys can see the list. Distance traveled, so stat travel distance starts off at 0. Not sure what I'll make the units, but yeah, Noob mentioned single game stats versus lifetime stats. And you're deciding to eat dinner while watching instead of choosing. Well, thank you. Thank you for sticking around for this part of the show. Yeah, I hope I'm making good mealtime entertainment. Hopefully my allergies don't get the mucus kicking and ruin your meal. I'll try not to cough or anything into the microphone. But thank you for sticking around. Appreciate it. And the Grim Gary does mention, yeah, the cost of GDC ain't pretty. It is not pretty at all. It's a great conference, but you know, as an individual, is it worth the price? I don't know. Maybe if you are an indie studio and you have a game to sell or something and you want publishers to see it, it's a good place to go. But if you are just an indie developer, you don't have anything to sell, I don't know. Pluses and minuses. It's definitely a good conference, but is it worth that much money? That's the hard one. Bullet bounces. Global stat. Bullet bounces. Record. Actually, lifetime is a good name for this. Let me switch it over. Instead of record, let's go lifetime. How high can a GameMaker number go? Because there's a lot of bullet bouncing. Maybe lifetime's not realistic. Let's see, GameMaker variable number max? That's not helpful. Don't think it says. Max variable quantity programming Q&A. Okay, maybe it's in here. Yeah, that's something else. Limits of GameMaker. There we go. Should be good. Yeah, diagonal movement. That's something I came across one time. Well, I'll figure it out later. What I could do, I guess, if there is a limit and the player does go over that limit, I could probably just change the variable to display something like ridiculous in text or something. We'll see. Maybe we'll keep 3 stats here just in case. So we'll go with record. So record would be the most number of bullets you've ever fired in a single game. Whereas lifetime would be the amount you've done over every game. We'll run with that. We'll see how this goes. So I need to jump back to my task list to get the rest of these. Okay. Global stat. Bullets through ghosts. Ghost bullets. Ghost shot, ghost bullets. Don't want to use 3 words if I don't have to, because that's a really long variable. Ghost bullets record. Ghost bullets lifetime. Bounced off scorpions, so scorpion bullets. Yeah, alright, let's divide it up by enemy. That seems to be the easy way to go. So the special scorpion stat is the fact that the bullets can bounce off the scorpion. Just have to remember that. And aliens. Alien bullets. Not the number of bullets aliens have fired, because they don't fire bullets. The number that have bounced off their shields. Lasers dodged. Laser dodges. Record. Lifetime. Bullet dodges. This should be a pretty high number. Although I think the number of bullets dodged by enemies will probably be the highest number, the one that gets to that GameMaker maximum the fastest. Which reminds me, enemy dodges is a good one to add. Just thought of another one too, but I forgot it. Enemy dodges, alien. Shoot. Just thought of one, but it slipped my head. So, enemy dodges. Lifetime. Charged bullets. Charged shots. That's another one that's possible. You know, whenever you charge that bullet, you can keep track of that stat. So if you fire a bullet that was charged, that'll be different than the regular bullets fired. Let's say charged fired. And I may not be able to implement all of these this episode, but we'll see how far I can get. And the Grim Gary mentions don't have anything to sell yet. I like that yet. That's a good sign. GameMaker numbers are within the bounds of double floats. Look up variable overflow. Okay, so double float. Floats. Bound. GameMaker. And Noob also mentions to look up variable overflow. That's probably another good way to approach it. This looks like it might give me my answer. I guess I could just bust out the calculator and figure it out the hard way. I just kind of want, I'm used to the internet. I'm used to people providing me answers. Well, I'll keep this open so I can search it up, but I'll also do the noob, what Noob mentioned, which is variable overflow. GameMaker. Yeah, you know, if it's a double float, then there's probably not a lot of people reaching that overflow, but I don't know. Maybe it's worth handling. I'll keep that as, you know what, let's put that in my task list, my to-do list. Oops. Well, I just have to figure out the right keywords, so find and handle max variable values. That should be enough to get me started. Just want to make sure that, you know, after the player's hard work, they don't get reset to minus, you know, 2 trillion something. Yeah, well, that's Pinterest. That's nice. Okay. Well, 10 is a good place to get started, so maybe we'll just get started on this. I'll think of other stats in the future, I'm sure, and I'll check these off as I go along. But that is a pretty good starting list. Let me just comment these so I remember what they are. And I'll use the same naming that I use in the list, so distance traveled. Distance traveled is actually going to be one of the trickier ones. Bullet bounces. Bullets fired through ghosts. The rest of these shouldn't be too bad because I handle all of the collision stuff anyway, so it's just a matter of incrementing these when that collision event gets fired. Those scorpions. I hope this is on the screen for you guys. Kind of getting to the bottom edge here. Lasers dodged. Yeah, I guess enemy alien shield drops. That's another one. Bullets dodged. Bullets dodged by enemies. Charge shots fired. Alien shields dropped. I'll just add this one really quick. Definitely biting off more than I can chew, but alright. Just so I remember what all these are without having to come in here every time. And I could set up a bookmark to jump me over here every time, but I'd rather just have this out in text so I can refer to it whenever I need to. By the way, in GameMaker, I'm sure all you guys who are using GameMaker use this all the time, but I think it's Control-Shift number. Yes. If you hit Control-Shift and a number at the same time, it creates this little bookmark here. So if I jump somewhere else and I want to jump back there, it doesn't even have to be the same script. You could be somewhere else entirely. And I think it's Control-1. Yes. Control-1 jumps you back to that bookmark. So in the past, I should have been using this more often, but it's a very handy way to get to where you need to go. I'll leave that bookmark in there for now. But I should have what I need to get started. So let's get into the stat tracking. Alright, let's get this window back to where it belongs. And here we go. And the Grim Gary mentions honestly wouldn't work. Worry after a few billion, yeah. If there's someone just totally obsessed with the game, which would be awesome, by the way. If someone was so obsessed that they got, billions and billions and billions of enemies dodging bullets, then, I need to reward them. I need to at least tell them you've gotten to a ridiculous value, so I will look that up. I hope someone reaches that limit on something. That'd be awesome because it means someone's playing the game a lot, but probably don't have to worry about it. And Noob mentions it'd be crazy to run out, and also gave me a hint on the distance travel. Using point distance x previous and xy. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Using the point distance function in GameMaker is probably the best way to go about that. Because I was thinking of doing something like this, where you've got, in GameMaker, you've got these variables x and y, which is your current x and y location on the screen. Ugh, yes, drawing text with the mouse. You've got x and y previous, which is your previous frame's x and y coordinates. So I was thinking of just, subtracting and doing absolute value and stuff like that. But yeah, point distance would do all that for me, so that is the way to go. In fact, let's do that one first while it's fresh in our minds. So every step. When should I do the stat tracking? Yeah, I guess every step. Step's probably a good way to do it. The thing I'm hesitating on now is adding all these stats. Oops. Just did something crazy. I hope that undid the right thing. I think it did, because I think it moved that if into here. The thing I'm kind of hesitant about is adding a lot of stat stuff into here is going to add a lot of extra logic in here, which makes it a little messier. But I don't think I want to create a separate object for tracking stats, because logically a lot of these variables are just going to be inside of this code anyway. So yeah, alright, let's add it in directly. No use having a stat tracker object. Let's just say distance tracking. because all those stats are going to be incremented in different places. So, pulling up that variable. Distance traveled. So that's the only one I have to keep track of for now. So stat travel distance should be set to, like Noob said, point distance. Best way to do this. Thank you for all the great hints, you guys, by the way. This is awesome. That saved me a lot of time having to script out absolute values and do all that stuff. Not sure why I was thinking in that direction in the first place. So every frame, it should increment this value by how much you've traveled pixels in pixels. So in units, it could change it to feet or something later. Probably, yeah, all right, feet's only going to work for us Americans, I suppose. Centimeters or something for the rest of the rational world who actually uses units that make sense. But we can worry about that later. That might actually be all I need to do for distance tracking. Maybe. So let's tackle another one. Bullet bounces. Well, let's do bullets fired first. That one's easy. When the player does successfully create a bullet, they fire off stats, speed, mouse, check dodge, decide player direction, begin step. Could have sworn it was in one of these alarms. See, this is where Bone Crusher was mentioning having everything in script is actually much easier because you don't have to play the game of where did I put XYZ. Charge flash. I think it's in the actual controller part. So this is inside of one of these scripts. Just the place where it actually fires the bullet is where I should be putting this. And in fact, knowing that, it might be easier to put it into that script that actually fires the bullet. Just check to make sure that the person firing it is the player. Yeah, I don't know. Let's think about that. Reset the bullet charging. So it's this here, this SCR fire shot. That's firing the bullet itself. And I do know the object that's firing it if I get the object type. So if I look up the object type inside of the script, I should be able to tell whether it's a player or a cowboy, so I could kill two birds with one stone if I just modify this script. Plus I don't have to worry about, adding +1, +1, +1 to every time I call this script. I could put it right in there. So let's try that method. Hopefully that works. Have to remember that there's this fire shot direction out here too, and fire shot boss as well. Don't want to forget that. And I only want to do it if it actually spawns the bullet. So it's only if it actually spawns the bullet. It's the only time I want to actually increment that, because there are times when the player tries to fire and it won't fire. GameMaker lets me do that. So that's that, but I need an if. And what I need to check is the type of instance this is. Object, shoot, is it object name? Object get name. Object index. I do player or do I do it as a string? Let me look that up on the official site. So I want to make sure I'm comparing apples with apples and not apples with oranges. Just wondering whether it wants a string or whether it wants the name of the object. And let's see. Click relative on the distance, otherwise it is setting, not incrementing. Oh, whoops. Did I do it that way? I'm sorry. Player. Thank you. Thank you for spotting that. Oh, whoops. Yeah, okay. I did do it that way. Yeah, I could set the relative check. I guess just because I read it better when I do this, so I'm going to do that. Thank you. Thank you for spotting that. Otherwise, it would have just always given me like 1 or something crazy low. Noob to the rescue. And the Grim Gary says, my foot or the king's foot? Yeah. I guess I'll just leave it at feet and leave it to your imagination. Whether it's your centimeters or the king's centimeters. Yeah, we'll assume the king's foot for those units. So object get names. It returns a string, so I need to compare it to a string. Alright. So if the object firing the bullet is a player, then we update that stat. Otherwise, update the other stat. So here's the killing 2 birds with 1 stone thing. Bullets fired through ghosts. Charged. Bullets dodged by enemies. Bullets fired. That's by the player. Dodged by enemies. Okay, well I guess I need to add that. Fired by enemies. Enemy bullets. And encrypted cow gives a nice nice little emoticon in the chat. Welcome to the chat, encrypted cow. You've come at an interesting time. And the Grim Gary says better than using qubits. Well, that's another unit I could use. I'll just divide by something and use a qubit. Make everyone learn a little lesson on what a qubit is. So I will need to add these into the global scripts. Because I definitely will forget to do that, so let's do that now. Alright. So, stat enemy bullets. Plus equals 1. And I should just add it to the other scripts, just in case. The boss I'm definitely using. Bullet instance. Because the boss can fire multiple bullets at the same time with like a shotgun effect. Obviously the player's never going to be doing this, so don't have to worry about all those if conditions. Just have to make sure I get my numbers right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 bullets. When the boss is really upset, they fire 5 bullets. So yeah, if the boss is desperate, they fire 5 bullets. If they're semi-desperate, fire 3 bullets. And if the boss is just fine, it's only 1 bullet. So that handles the boss. Fire shot direction. This is one where I probably do need to do the check for whether it's the player or not, because I might still be using this. Fire shot. There we go. Clear shot is true. Okay. So that should cover my bullets. So we've got that. We've got that. We've got that. Let's try bullet bounces. Bullet bounces. Good place to do that. I wonder if it's better to do it inside the bullet. Let's check. When the bullet collides with a border or a bumper, it bounces. It also bounces off of scorpions and aliens. It's just whether or not to count those or not. Yeah, it's probably worth counting them. So let's do that. Increment that variable, and I'll remember to do the plus thing in here. BL bounces. All right. So wherever I'm adding BL bounces, +1 is where I should be doing that stuff. Let's get my name right. Bullet bounces. There we go. Boom. And that +1. Border, the edge of the screen when it bounces off of that. And then bumpers when it bounces off like the barrels and stuff. Scorpion. Bounce in there. Alien. Bounces in there. And I don't think it bounces off of anything else, so I should be good. And cactus bullet inherits from it. Tree bullet inherits from cactus bullet. Okay, so I should be okay. Oh, they don't bounce. The bullets fired off the cactus. Let me show you what I'm talking about here, because it's been a while since showing the cactus firing. Hopefully I don't get an error when I start after adding a bunch of stuff. That's level 3. So like these cacti, you know, poor Steve's cousin sitting out here in the hot sun, you shoot them, they get upset, they fire. But those bullets don't bounce, so I don't have to worry about keeping track of them. So I got bullet bounces done. Bullets fired through ghosts. That shouldn't be too bad, actually. Because I only have to do that in one place. Bullet collision. If the ghost is red and they're angry, in other words, if the bell's ringing and the ghost is red, they can get hit otherwise. The bullet just passes through the ghost, which is exactly where I want to increment that value. Okay, there's my ghost bullets. Scorpion bounces. So exactly where I was doing the other one is where I should be doing this one. Bounce, 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 bounce. Well, that was in bullet. Okay, let's do it in here. So if it bounces against a scorpion, then we'll set that. So ghosts has done scorpions. So scorpion bullets. That's that. Okay. Next up is aliens. That's going to be in here as well. Alien bounces. Let me double check the scorpion. I hope I made the right variable name in there. Okay, stat bullets. Okay, good. That is that. And let me just make sure I'm caught up to the chat here. Noob mentions that lifetime should also be incremented alongside the normal version. Only the record needs to be separate. Unless it's cleaner to update lifetime when you update the record. That actually might be better. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Because otherwise I have to do like, I know I will forget to increment something somewhere, so that like the number of bullets fired doesn't get reflected into the lifetime in certain cases or something. So yeah, I'm just going to update record and lifetime stats whenever I go to a result screen. So whenever it does show, you know, your results, that's when it'll finally add to those. Just want to do that to be safer than sorry, and to kind of save a little bit of code stuff. But yeah, the proper way to do it would be to update all of them as you go, because then even if the player does quit in the middle of the game, it still keeps track of their stats for them. But not going to be totally proper, going to make sure that they get to a result screen before updating those values, just to keep it cleaner. Lasers dodge, that shouldn't be too bad, because that's the player's thing. When the player collides with a laser spot, which is what I'm doing when going all over the place in my mind here. My mind is racing too fast. When an alien fires a laser out to a player, to generate the collision effect, there's something called a laser spot object, which I spawn where the laser effect, that line kind of crosses where the player is. So that's where I have to keep track of the laser stuff. So laser spot. This is if player dodge is false, obviously they get hit. So I just need an else at the very end here. Else. Oops, went one too far there. And here's the thing. Also, if the player is hurt, meaning they're kind of down on the ground and they've got the stars over their head, or if they're dead, obviously, the bullet doesn't slam into them. So whether to count those as dodges or not, I don't think it's a good idea to count them as dodges, so let's throw an extra condition in here. So if player dodge is true, make sure I'm naming that right. Yes, okay. So if the player is dodging, if that's the reason they're avoiding the bullet, then increment this, or dodging the laser, increment this. Plus equals 1. Okay. And I'm going to need to do something similar for the bullet. So actually all of this could get copied over to bullet. Let me just do this. Just to make sure the pasting works properly, because GameMaker doesn't seem to, maybe one of you guys knows why, but GameMaker, when you try to paste to the end of something, it kind of pastes to the middle. Don't want that to happen. Bullet dodges. Plus 1. Okay, so the player dodged a bullet. Dodged the bullet. Okay, have to put that comment in there. And I should probably put that in for laser too, just so I know what it is later. What is this else, this if thing out here? So I can tell at first glance what it is. And there's also explosions, which can be dodged. So that should probably be a separate stat. Explosions, explosions dodged. That's a set of stats. While I'm in here, might as well do it. Explosion dodges. Actually, explosion dodges is this one. Boom. Explosions. Because when the bullet bounces too much, it eventually reaches that state where it slows down, it flashes, and the next thing it hits, it explodes, kind of doing a damage area effect. So it's probably worth keeping track of that stat because it's kind of cool. So let me just make sure to add these into here before I forget. Okay. And let's do what we do for bullet out here for explosions. Okay, this is just for explosion dodges. And for actual explosions, that should be in the bullet. So let's jump out of player. Well, we've got bullet up here, so step, bounce check, instance create explosion. Actually, every time an explosion is created, just increment it. That's the easy way to do it. So when an explosion is created in the game, add to the explosion count. Easy enough. This one. Okay. That got those out of the way. Bullets dodged, got that. Bullets dodged by enemies. I don't want to count ghosts, so just the bad cowboys. Oh, when they run into something. Ghosts, scorpions. Yeah, okay. I'll put it in the default enemy. Because most of the enemies override the bullet behavior, and if they don't, that means they're able to dodge the bullet. So I could put it in here. Exactly as I'm doing with the player. So let's copy that over. Bullet. Boom, boom, boom. Bring that over here. Just to make the pasting easier. And the enemy dodged the bullet in this case. I do need to change this to EM dodge. I think that's the name of the variable. Yes, EM dodge. So if the enemy is dodging, then we update this. Awesome. One more down. Let me catch up to the chat since I don't want to leave you guys alone too long. And Noob mentions, does the ghost bullet counter only increment when the collision first happens? If not, that would be a little messy. Yes, it only increments when the collision first happens. Yeah, until the bullet finishes passing through. Yeah, good point. That's actually a good point. It could keep track of it every step, which could, as you said, make things messy. I'll see what happens to the numbers, but I'm starting to suspect you're right. What Noob is mentioning is that there's the outhouse. As the bullet passes through this ghost, horrible, horrible ghost, Pac-Man ghost, I guess. You've got this hit box here, this collision box. If the ghost is transparent in their unangry state, the bullet just passes through them. That collision event occurs when this bullet collision box overlaps this ghost collision box. The question is whether it only does this once or whether it does it every step as it passes through, because if it does it every step, then the way I'm doing it now is going to count this 3 or 4 or 5, however many steps it takes to pass through the ghost time. So yeah, that's something that's worth keeping track of. Is if the easy way to test it would be to fire a bullet through one ghost, kill the rest of them, and just see what the numbers turn into, or just use debugging to track the numbers as we go. But I suspect you're right. I think that's going to have to be handled. And don't use the plus equal in the variable thing. I don't think that works properly. Just use plus. Oh, shoot. Was I using plus equal in there? Oh, whoops. Whoops. Thank you for pointing that out. Wow. Bad mistake. All right. Now I just have to remember all the spots I put things. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. That would have killed me. That would have been very, very bad. Bullet pass message, global stat. Well, hopefully did I do it everywhere? Hopefully I didn't do it everywhere. Yeah, because I'm already saying plus that, so I don't need the plus equals. That's thinking in script for some reason. And in weird script, because this would have done everything I needed it to do. Explosions. Yeah, okay. Thank you for pointing that out. Wow. I think I've made that mistake before too. Just thinking in terms of script and then jumping in and doing it that way. Bullets bouncing. Hopefully I didn't do it here. Plus, plus. Looks like I was good up until there anyway. So I think it was just enemy and player where I was doing that stuff. Explosion, make sure I fix this one. Yes, okay. Double check. Alright, I think I'm good. And Noob mentions that GameMaker always pastes above where you're currently selecting. Yeah, that's the whole reason I have to add that bracket at the end to get it pasted in the right spot. It makes sense, but I kind of wish it would just kind of know that you're trying to paste after, because then it would save a little bit of trouble there. So, charge shots fired. That's... Am I doing that in fire shot? No. I think that's something I have to do inside of player. When actually firing the bullet. Yes. Input controller. So that I do need to do every time, unfortunately. So, you know, there's different ways to fire the bullet. You can fire it with like a key on the keyboard, you can fire it with a button on the controller, you can fire it with the right stick on the controller, you can fire it with the mouse. So there's 4 places you can fire the bullet, which means I have to update that 4 places. Bullet bounces. I wonder if there's a more efficient way to do this inside of bullet. The problem is I can't do it in the bullets create, because the bounces, the thing that tells it you've bounced 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, is updated after the create. I could do it a messy way by doing it inside the state, or the step. Just track it once. No, let's just do it the proper way here. Now I can actually use the plus equals 1, because it's actually in script. And I guess the easy way to do it is to search for bounce floor max. Bounce floor max. So this will show me where it appears. It's not too bad, because I'm only doing it in a couple of places. But theoretically, I should pull this out to like a common script and just call that script. Then I'd only have to update it once. And I think I have to do it in the mouse as well. Yes. It's nice now because I remember all this stuff. It wasn't that long ago that I implemented it. But in the future, I might forget to update one of those, and that's not a good thing. So that should cover the charged bullets. That's that. Alien shield dropped. That should be easy at least, because that's all handled inside the alien. So PFX laser charge, shield buffer. Okay, so alarm 4 is drop shield status. Okay, that's where we put it then. So making sure not to do the plus equals thing, even though my hand wants to put that equal sign in there so badly. There. And that looks like everything. I don't need to save this. Okay. First thing, I guess, is to test whether or not it actually runs. Okay, it does run. So the next thing, just to know that these numbers are getting incremented, I'm going to run it in debug mode so that I can actually see those variables as they're getting modified, rather than having to go all the way to the screen to do it. And this will show us that whole ghost thing too, whether it counts that collision every step or not. So pause it first and try to find those things. Instances. Locals, globals. I'm looking for globals. Feels like there was a place to do that. Scripts, objects, creation code, timelines. So it's not instances, it's globals. Set type. There we go. Okay. Just had to remember, because I think by default it was globals, and I remember changing it to instances. Alright, so we've got all these stats in here. Kind of mixed in, unfortunately. Let's see. Well, let's track these variables one by one and make sure they're working. So bullets fired by enemies and bullets fired. Those will be the two easy ones to track. So let's get a couple of bullets going. Okay, let's unpause it.
Ready, set, draw.
So that's a bullet. One bullet. It's an enemy bullet. I'll also get my bullet dodge. Check. And the enemies dodged bullets too, so. Okay, that's a pretty good place to stop and check. So, SFX dodge count? Those are sound effects things. Wow. This is nasty. Is there no way to rearrange this thing by name? Oh man, it's gotta be in the order it's created. Well, that's lovely. Wow. That is surprising that you can't resort those things by name, but we'll see. Let's start looking. Sing out if you see it. Enemy dodges lifetime. Almost there. Enemy dodges record. Enemy dodges 5. Okay. 1, 2. Yes. Okay, so Noob was right. It's counting that variable up every time the bullet, every step the bullet is inside of the enemy's hit collision, so it's giving me an inaccurate count. It should only be 2, because you remember there were 2 enemies, fired the bullet, they both dodged, the bullet bounced back and hit the enemy. So 5 is too much. It should only be 2. Should only be 2, so yes, you're right about that. So I do need to do a little bit of special trickery with that to make sure that it only counts once when a bullet goes in there. That's going to be interesting. Let's see, what else do we have? Bullets fired, I guess. Something else we have to check. Should be 1, 2 apiece. 1 apiece. Stat scorpion bullets, ghost bullets. Bullet bounces lifetime. Bullet bounces 2. Okay, that's working, because you had the one bullet that bounced off the right side of the screen and the one bullet that bounced off the left side of the screen, so that is fine. In fact, bullet bounces. That is a-okay, so I'm going to update that. Let me save this file, actually. Bullet bounces is working. Next, bullet count. Laser blast count. Bullets fired. All right, we're getting there. Bullets fired 1. That is correct. Enemy bullets fired 1. That is correct. Okay. Those two are working. Bullets fired. Bullets fired by enemies is working. Let's check distance now. Walk around the screen. What else can I check? Since I'm going through all the hassle of pausing it and checking things, it's probably worth... Okay, bullets dodged. Actually, I did dodge a bullet, so that should be in there. Oh, but that's going to have the problem that we talked about before with the collision, so that's not working. Charged shot fired. Okay, I could charge a shot and fire it. I could get an explosion going. I could try to dodge an explosion. Yeah, alright. Let's do that. Charge a shot. Travel some distance. Alright, let's get moving. So charge the shot. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's an explosion. It should also give me a charged shot. I guess I could try to dodge an explosion. I guess I should get it up to red. Oh, I can check some of the ghost stats here too. Alright. If I get it up to red and let it go, it should get to me on the bounce and explode. Let's wait a little bit. Almost. Almost. Okay, well, sorry guys. Let's get it going through first. And let's pause it. Since I traveled some distance, so let's pause it and check that too. So X ghost hit counts, bat hit counts, multiplier. Stat enemy bullets. Yeah, the enemies did fire bullets, so that's fine. Lasers, haven't checked that. Travel distance. 1066. Okay, so I've traveled 1066 pixels. Thank you for the point to distance advice, noob. So travel distance is working. It's going to be a really big number, but works. Could always divide it by something as well, just to keep that number more manageable. It's actually a really good idea. Let's divide later. Bullet bounces, that's working fine. Ghost bullets, yes. It's counting it too many times, but at least it's tracking it properly, so that's fine. Alien bullets lifetime. That's for when it bounces off the alien shields. Guess I do need something for the Snowman as well, like a stat. Laser dodges, haven't dodged a laser yet, haven't dropped a shield yet. Bullet dodges 8, okay, that's working, good. Enemy dodges, that's working, kind of. Charged shot fired 3, did get the charged shots fired, so that's working. Shield drops, explosions 2, there were 2 explosions. Couldn't dodge an explosion, but I'm pretty sure that's going to work. I'm not too worried about that. Have to fix it anyway. So let's go through and figure out what we did. Fired through ghosts is kind of working. Bouncing off scorpions, haven't checked that. Aliens, haven't checked that. Haven't checked that. Bullets dodged, kind of working. Dodged, working. Charged shots fired, that's working. Explosions, that's working. So all of the dodge ones are not going to be working. But let's check the aliens. And let's see. Actually, I do need to scroll up in the chat here. Sorry, my notebook is kind of a small screen, so the chat scrolls off pretty quick. And Noob mentions as kind of a hint, he always says drag and drop out loud, so don't make that mistake of plus equals 1. But yeah, that's actually a good idea. Drag and drop, because then it kind of gets your mind to thinking outside of script. That's actually a good idea. And Noob mentions make sure you've updated the code when it sets up all the globals to include the extra ones you added in the text file. Yeah, I think I did do that. It's worth a check. Good idea, it's worth a check. It doesn't hurt to double check. So the top one is enemy bullets. Let me just make sure that's there. Yes. Bullets fired, distance, bounces, ghosts, scorpions, aliens, laser dodge. Those were all there before. Dodged by enemies, dodged by enemies, shots fired, shields dropped, explosions. Okay, they're all there. So thank you for the tip. And Noob is going to drop off for 20 minutes. Depending on when you see this, it might be a short time. Yeah, it took me a little while to see it, so you'll probably be right back. But Noob also mentioned that you can go through the globals list to set some of them to be watch, and then put them in a watch list. It's probably a good idea because it'll make it easier to watch the stats. Let's see if I can do that. Let's find an easy stat here to look at. Explosion dodges. Explosions count. Okay. Can I set it to a watch list? Step in, step out, real-time updates. I guess I could turn on real-time updates. That'll make it easier, I guess, if I'm looking at the game at the same time as this. Set type. Yeah, there's definitely a watches. Do I have to go in here? System, create. Okay, well, I'm sure what you do is you have to go in here and maybe set up watches through here or something, but can't quite figure it out, so I'll look that up later. But I think for the most part I'm okay. The only thing I have to check now is just alien bounces and scorpion bounces, and then I'll have to fix the collision thing where it's passing through players and ghosts and counting it too many times. Alright, let's get this going. So now that it's got real-time updates, I'm sure it's really, really slow. Maybe it's a good idea not to do that. Let's not do that. Well, let's try it again. Real-time updates. Pause. Okay, it's fine. It isn't updating that, so... Or is it? Stat explosions. I'm just on the wrong part. Yeah, it was probably updating it fine. So let's jump to the other levels and check out those stats. Let me find one of them first. Shield drops. Okay, let's check shield drops. Make sure that works. So that's going to be level 4. Hopefully I get a health item so I don't have to deal with Sepia too long. I could check alien bounces too. So I've got 2 bounces now. Okay. Pause this so I don't die. Pause it when there's not a sound effect going on. So shield drops 2. Okay, that's fine. The aliens did drop their shields, so that's cool. The next one is the alien bounces. I should dodge the laser too. It's probably a good idea. Then I can check that stat as well, since it's right there. Let me dodge a laser real quick. Okay. That should have done it. Yeah, laser dodge is 11. Yeah, the problem is there's a bunch of those objects, collision objects, going through the player to check to make sure they're dodging, so it's counting all of those. Need to keep track of that. So it's another dodge issue. And alien bullets. 3. Okay, so I've bounced 3 bullets off of alien shields, so that's fine. So the alien stuff I think is all working, except for the usual dodge stuff. Bullets bounced off aliens, that's fine. Lasers dodged, that's, well, it's a dodge problem, universal dodge problem. Shields dropped, that's fine. So the last thing to check is just scorpions, just to make sure. It's the exact same as the alien stuff, so I'm sure it's fine, but just to be on the safe side. That's right, I don't have to wait for the scorpion, I can just do that. Okay, let's see, scorpion bullets. 1, there we go. So it says 1 up there, which means I've bounced 1 bullet off of a scorpion's armor. That is good to go. So we've got all our stats. Probably add more in the future, like for snowmen and stuff. Yeah, probably should just say snowmen stats. Something for the snow level, just to make it special. But everything's working except for the whole collision counting thing. That'll be kind of one solution fits all. Let's see here. Let me add, you know what, let me add a statistic for the snowman, because that's a good way to kind of finish this off. Make sure I have all those statistics ready and available to show the player, because eventually, let's go to an easy level. Eventually, I said easy and then I shoot myself. That's awesome. Let's go to the snowman level. Okay, so this is the snowman level. Right now, trying to think of something that would be unique to snowmen. I guess you could say snowballs destroyed. It's not a super interesting stat because every snowman only has 3 snowballs to them, so it's just, you know, the number of enemies killed times 3, but maybe that's alright. Maybe, here we go. Here's a stat for the snowmen. When you hit their head, they turn into this really fast version, but it can't see you, so it just wanders around the screen pretty randomly. It's a small reward for the player getting a headshot, because if you don't get a headshot, what happens is the snowmen get faster, but they can chase after you. So it's better to get the headshots, because then they just wander, which gives you a little more room to move. So probably headshots is a good one to track. The only thing I have to be careful of is to make sure that I don't count this, you know, when they've only got the head and I shoot that, because I didn't have a choice in that case. It should only be a statistic that kind of keeps track of like a skill kind of thing. So let's add that into the list here. Snowmen. Snowman headshots. There we go. Let's get some boom headshots going in here. Stats, snowman heads. There we go. Nice to have something for the snowman stage. The Christmas special. So that's going to be all on snowman, which is here. So when the snowman runs into a bullet, it figures out exactly, you know, what snowman it should become depending on where the bullet hit it. So let's see, if snowman balls is 0, obviously it's dead, so I want to make sure I don't count anything there, because if you just kill the snowman, that's not very interesting. But if you hurt the snowman and you take off the head, then increment that variable. Thankfully the logic's already set up to handle this, so it shouldn't be too bad. What did I just paste in? Whoops. Yeah, let's not use paste when I've got something else in memory. Take off the head, okay. Because GameMaker is actually friendly in that way. It keeps track of 2 things. It keeps track of text, like your text clipboard, and it also keeps track of your GUI clipboard, so you can get into trouble with pasting. There we go. So +1. So if you've taken off the head, then you get a +1. If it had 2 balls, and you take off the head, let's see, take off the head here, which turns its hunting off. So whenever EM hunt is set to false, that's about the timing, because the EM hunt is whether or not it's chasing after the player or not. Torso, body. Why am I setting EM most of that? Oh, okay. Alright, so this is the case where I already shot off the head, and the only thing left is to shoot off one of either the torso or the body. So I shouldn't increment the head count here, because the snowman has already lost its head. So there's only three total. Yeah, there's only 3 total situations where the snowman can lose its head as something the player did out of skill. And let me go through that. So if you've got 3 balls here, one is obviously if just right off the bat you smoke its head. That's one case. The other case is, there's actually 2 here. It's really hard to tell the difference, so maybe I should just draw some buttons on this one just to make it clear. If you shot off this in the beginning and then you shoot off this, that's one other possibility for a headshot. The other one is if you shot off the middle section and you end up with this and you shoot off the head. That's another headshot. So there's 3 total states where you can get a headshot. That actually means something. So I've got that covered in there. And let's just make sure that that's working. Okay. Let's head off to the snow level. And let's get some headshots. So, there we go. Good thing we checked it. That's because, as Noob mentioned before, if I forget to add the global variables up here, the variable doesn't exist. So I need to do that. That time I forgot to do it. So let's add that stat in here. Good thing I checked that. Save it. And let's jump back in one more time. Whoops, don't want to stop the web server. Okay. Well, let's try that again. Level 5. Now it should have no trouble keeping track of headshots if I can get it. That was not a headshot. As you can see, it's kind of tricky. Well, alright, that didn't work out. Got a headshot there. Not on purpose, though. So that's 1. Let's see if I can get a headshot right off the bat. Let's get some health back. Okay. That's 2 headshots. Then I need the base. I need to shoot the middle. Ah! Uh-oh. Now the Christmas tree's firing, and I'm out of bullets. Oh well, it's not going to count the headshot because one of the bullets bounced off and got the body. But I should theoretically have 2. So let's pause this. Should theoretically have 2 snowman headshots. Snowman's head. Yes! Stat snowman's heads. It's really hard to see. It's small, but it is 2. So headshots are counting just fine. And that gives me something to do with the snowman. And let's go over here and update this tracking list. With everything that we've got here. So bullets fired by enemies. just so later on when you guys look this up, you have all the information that I have. Keep them the same. Distance traveled is there, bounces is there. Fired through ghosts, scorpions, aliens, that's all there. Lasers dodged, bullets dodged, enemy dodges, charge shots fired, alien shields dropped. Okay. Explosions dodged. Explosions dodged. And last, Snowman headshots. So if you're curious to see what kind of stats I'm tracking, these are the stats. You know, feel free to jump in the chat anytime you want to in the future and think if you think of anything, and I'll just add it to this list if I can find it. Just remember that this is episode 36. Since these are all done, I'll cross them off. The dodges aren't working, but I'll make a task for that. But I'll check them off the list. So those are the stats I am tracking. But what I need to do, I'm sure once I think of a solution, it won't be that hard to implement. But stats, dodging, collisions count more than once. Need a fix for that. And that's a game design task. So that's something I'll think about in the future. In terms of displaying stats, that's something I will need to do in the future. And max variable values, I will look that up just to make sure that, you know, in case a player does travel however many pixels above, you know, a double float, it doesn't wrap around on them. So the main thing we did do was we did get the tracking stats done this episode. So that is good. Let's think about next episode, which will be 2 weeks from now. As I mentioned at the top of the show, won't be around next week because of GDC. I keep saying it over and over again, but just to make sure you're aware of that. So it'll be 2 weeks from now. I'm going to miss you guys because I do like doing this every week. It is a lot of fun. Especially like when you guys are all in the chat and stuff, like, you know, Cirrus and, you know, all you guys are in there. Love it. You know, thanks for all the advice today. And, you know, the guys who've chatted for the first time, you know, Grim Gary, Decent Scrimp, you know, all you guys for showing up. Thank you. And Quetzalcoatl, it was good to see you again. So let's think. Trello's doing some kind of dance on me, so don't pay attention to that. But let's see what we can do for next episode. Display stats. That's really distracting that Trello's doing that. Stop, please stop. Okay, it's not stopping. All right, well, Trello's having problems over the last couple of weeks. Fix the enemy appearance timings. Enemies exploding coins. How about I leave it to you guys? If you're in the chat and you have an opinion, whether you would rather see this. Let's get these out. Wow, Trello, stop going crazy on me, man. Keep it together. Keep it together. We're almost there. Or display stats. So these are the two options. I probably wouldn't be able to do both of them in one episode. Whether you would rather see me do enemies exploding in coins that you have to pick up, kind of as a replacement for just showing points, and gives the player a little more motivation to kind of move around the screen and do things. Or whether you would rather get those stats that I was making today and actually display them on a result screen. Take your pick. I will do that task. And if you don't have an opinion, I'll just pick one by next week, but I'll keep these in here for now. If someone does jump in the chat and say which one you want me to do, I will do that one for episode 37. So, either enemies explode in coins or display those stats that I've been tracking. Either one's cool. Thank you for sticking with me. If you've been watching the live show, you might have been here with me the whole time through 2 episodes worth of work. My brain is starting to melt, but apparently I was able to do it, pull it off. Hopefully I didn't destroy anything. Hopefully I didn't destroy your guys' desire to see the show. But usually it's just 2 hours a week, and it's always at the same time. So episode 35, the first half of today, and for those of you watching this on YouTube, it's the last episode, did a game over sequence where I got an outhouse out there, the player walks to the outhouse, goes inside, enemies kind of line up outside the outhouse. It's just kind of a game over sequence. Did that in episode 35. In the end, probably have like credits and stats and stuff scrolling over that. And in episode 36, I added all these, which is this episode for those of you watching on YouTube, added all of these different stats that you can track inside of the game. Haven't displayed them outside of the debug screen yet, but they're there and ready to display. Just have to fix that one. And let's see, Noob says, exploding in coins. Numbers mean nothing. Just kidding. But coins feel like more of a reward for doing things. Okay, exploding in coins. Let's do that. Let's do that next episode. Thank you. Thank you, Noob. So leave that for another time. Maybe even do it in overtime, but I think I'll try to do some other stuff. And yeah, Sirius mentions curse you, Trello. I don't know why Trello's been doing this for the last couple of weeks, but for some reason it does this thing where it's like it can't quite figure out whether this needs to be squeezed in or not. It's been getting shaky for some reason. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. I don't want to blame Trello because it's a great site. Good way to keep track of your program. So episode 37, which will be 2 weeks from now. Enemies explode in coins, so I have to draw the coin, allow you to pick it up, and only if you get those coins do you get points. And like Noob said, numbers mean nothing. Well, yeah, alright, they're cool. It's fun to see like scores and stuff like that, but alarm going off. It is fun to see like your score going up and stuff, but having to collect coins and kind of taking that risk of going after the coins while you're being shot at will probably make it more of an interesting game overall. Plus, it'll make it possible to get that, score text and stuff off of the screen as well in the future. And Sirius mentions that his brain melts all the time. Well, mine melts almost every Saturday, but now it's double melted, I guess, like a double quarter pounder or something. Got cheese all over the place. And Noob says Trello is sensitive about its weight. Yeah, it could just be I have too many tasks in here, now it's starting to flub on it. But there we go. Let me jump to the desktop here. Whew, that was a long episode. Thank you, Noob and Sirius and the rest of you guys for sticking through it this whole time. You guys are troopers. That was a lot of stuff. And later on YouTube, I will divide this up into 2 videos. Probably won't be able to get all of the editing done before leaving for GDC because that's Sunday, because it's a long flight to get from Japan to San Francisco. But I should be able to get at least episode 35, the first half, up, and then, in my jet lag state, I'll probably get episode 36 up next week. So for those of you watching YouTube, I guess the timing will be as if nothing really happened. But let's see. I should give you all my times here. Thank you for watching the Game Development Show. You can catch past episodes in this one over at youtube.com, Tengu Studio. If you are watching this later on YouTube, you can come drop by the live show we do on Twitch TV Blue Tengu every week, except for next week. That's Fridays, 3 to 5 Pacific, 4 to 6 Mountain, 5 to 7 Central, 6 to 8 Eastern. Friday, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the UK. If you're here in Japan with me, it's 8 to 10 Saturday mornings. And if you're in Australia, depending on where you live, in the giant place, it starts anywhere from 8 to 10 in the morning. And if you're in New Zealand, it starts at 11. We do always announce what we're doing through Twitter, so follow B Tengu to keep, and that's B, just the letter B Tengu, to keep track of when the live show starts or episodes go up. Or you can follow us on Twitch or YouTube. Hopefully Twitch sends you the announcements when we're doing the shows. And of course, you can see what we're up to anytime over at www.bluetengu.com. And as I mentioned a couple of times, we won't be broadcasting next week for the first time ever, missing a week, because I'll be attending the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. So that's why I did this extra long live show, which I'll be breaking into 2 parts for you guys. Thank you for watching, and thank you for sticking with me through this long episode as my brain starts to disintegrate on you. You can see my decay rate as I do the show, but thank you for watching. Thank you guys for chiming into the chat. It was great. And I will see you next time.